Selamat datang di Minikino Film Week 9, Bali International Short Film Festival 15-23 September 2023. Acara ini terselenggara atas dukungan Kementerian Pendidikan, Kebudayaan, Riset dan Teknologi Republik Indonesia, Dana Indonesiana, LPDP, The Raoul Wallenberg Institute, Rangkai, Lumix Indonesia, Official Transport by Grab, Yayasan Kino Media, dan Minikino Studio. Venue partner tahun ini, Irama Indah, Mas Denpasar, Umas Minyak, Alliance Fungse Bali, The Rooms Apartment, Kuskus Galeri, Geo Open Space, Community Screening di Banjar Adat Tegasari dan Buleleng. Dan Traveling Pop-Up Cinema tahun ini berkolaborasi dengan Desa Adat Pagi Senganan Tabanan. Acara ini juga menerima begitu banyak sumbangan tenaga, waktu, dan perhatian yang luar biasa, serta doa dan restu dari berbagai pihak. Minikino Film Week 9 berterima kasih kepada Jaringan Festival Film Pendek Internasional, Alcine Film Festival Spanyol, Image Forum Festival Jepang, Kaohsiung Film Archive Taiwan, Show Me Shorts Film Festival New Zealand, Toronto Real Asian International Film Festival Kanada, Sesif Korea, Bogo Shorts Kolombia, Jaringan Kerja Programmer Asia Tenggara S-Express, Jaringan Kerja Programmer Nasional Indonesia Raja, dan Konferensi Film Pendek Internasional The Short Film Conference. Dukungan promosi dan media oleh Balai Bengong, Tatkala.co, Watchmen ID, Cinemax, Harian Kompas dan Kompas.id, Geometri Media, MEF Magazine, Cineclip, Info Screening, TVRI Bali, Cinefox ID, Cinema Linea, Moviephobic, Mapmap.id, RRI Pro 2 FM Denpasar, Thomson News Bali, Elkoga Radio Bali, Hard Rock FM Bali, Phoenix Radio Bali, Penguin FM Bali, Sinemuah. Dukungan acara dan kegiatan oleh Iziren, Melali ke Desa, Rempah Embassy, Studio 3 Pagi, Bali Event Styling, Henry's Ginger Bear, Foodkoma Ubud, Mulawali Institute, Yayasan Teratai, dan masih banyak lagi para pihak yang baik, para pembuat film, distributor, para relawan, serta simpatisan individual, namun tidak memungkinkan kami sebutkan satu persatu di sini.
Halo, salam dari Denpasar, Bali, di acara Minikino Film Week 9 Bali International Short Film Festival. Hi, welcome to Irama Indah Mini Hall. We are in day 8 of the Minikino Film Week 9th edition Bali International Short Film Festival. You made it so far. You deserve an applause. And this session is the session that is presented by Minikino, working together with RWI, Raoul Wallenberg Institute of Human Rights and Humanitarian Law. And this is a section about, we call it a part of the short film market. It's actually a forum. We'll discuss about human rights and short films. And we are actually going live now at minikino.org/live, and it will stay forever, so that everyone that is curious or will be interested to know more about human rights, short films, impact, changes, they can actually access this recording. And thank you for joining us in person. I'm Chika, Francisca Prihadi. On behalf of Minikino, I thank you everyone that made it, the filmmakers, the RWI, and the audience. I'm here with special people because they come all the way from different places, and this festival is a hub, basically. A hub for people to meet, to learn, to hear, and to discuss, and to also have fun. But this part is a bit serious. But why we cannot make it interesting? That's why actually Raoul Wallenberg Institute is quite well known for their research base. And we as a festival were surprised, pleasantly surprised, by the idea that they would love to support this festival and the filmmakers by having a transversal prize, as we call it, a prize given by individual or independent organization to support the filmmakers for a certain cause through the film festival. And I will start this session for the next 100 minutes or so. We'll start with an introduction. Who is going to introduce first? Raoul Wallenberg Institute? Jason Squire?
So thanks. My name's Jason Squire. I'm the director, the Asia Pacific director of the Raoul Wallenberg Institute. We're going to explain the Raoul Wallenberg Institute to you in a moment. But I think that's all you want me to say, isn't it? My name. So I'll
Yeah,
leave it
the
at that.
introduction. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You.
All right, thank you. Yeah, my name is Yudha. I'm a communication officer for Regional Asia Pacific Office of the Raoul Wallenberg Institute. So in the coming session, I will explain you guys what is RWI. So,
Yeah, thank you, Jason and Yudha, and also Wulan, the team. I would like to introduce the filmmakers. Wow, you look a bit tense. It is a serious matter because the filmmakers that are invited here, they are the nominees of the RWI Asia Pacific Award at the festival. Woo! There are actually 5 nominees. Harry is not going to join us in this panel with his film Blue Poetry, and Mike. Oh yeah, and Michael also in Singapore. Good luck for the production for his feature film. We are actually here with the other 3 filmmakers, and don't worry, the presentation will not will not be counted as the factor of who will win tomorrow. So you can be relaxed. Yeah, there's no point for this one. This one is for our sharing for the filmmakers. I mean, it's online, so for not just for people that come here, but for everyone. So I would like to invite Robin to introduce yourself first.
My name is Robin Narciso. I'm an Italian filmmaker based in Cambodia, and I've been living and working in Cambodia for the past 10 years or so. And I can call Cambodia my second home after Italy.
Yay. Well, the applause just to warm up. And also, I am actually inviting you to give a second applause because Robin and Thomas are the directors, the winner of the first ever RWI Asia Pacific Award at 2021. Yeah, during the pandemic, yeah. We'll hear more about it later. And Riani.
Hi, thanks for coming everyone. My name is Riani. I'm a documentary filmmaker based in Jakarta, Indonesia. Yeah, looking forward to talk to you guys soon.
Hi, my name is Amelia Hapsari. I'm a documentary filmmaker, but I'm also working, I think, cross between documentary and also impact, because I'm working also for Ashoka, and we're building a movement where everyone should be change makers.
Thank you, Amel. So we're here with Jason, Yudha, Robin, Riani, Amel, and we did mention that we're so honored to welcome you like 3 years after the first festival that you won, but you cannot make it. So we're so excited to have you here this year. We're also excited because before this panel, Minikino actually interviewed the previous winner of the section award. Was last year, and we will actually, they can't be here with us, but they actually give their impression of the topic and how it is impactful for their either career or the awareness that they're trying to raise. So I will actually call my colleague to roll the video of Hadafi, the main prize winner of last year. Correction, this is not actually the one. Oh, it is his film. Oh my goodness, it's Hadafi. I'm nervous, so sorry. Not the main prize winner. that is actually the trailer.
Kesan gue kemarin pas dapat di RWI itu adalah ya tentu menyenangkan ya. Dari awalnya cuma ingin bikin film tentang tempat tinggalku, terus ini kita juga sampainya cuma hanya ke Minikino, tapi ternyata pas dapat info diterima nggak cuma di program Minikino aja, tapi juga dapat nominasi di kompetisi RWI Asia Pacific, itu jujur senang sekali gitu. RWI memberikan apresiasi terhadap filmmaker yang menyuarakan isu-isu penting seperti lingkungan, gender, dan HAM yang tentu dibutuhkan oleh para filmmaker dan pula penontonnya gitu. Terus setelah menang di RWI, film The Persian tuh sebenarnya ini ya, kita dari awal bikin tuh sebenarnya ya inginnya sebenarnya ditonton gitu dan didiskusikan oleh banyak orang. Kita ingin membuka mata para penonton kalau kerusakan di lingkungan di sini itu sebenarnya udah nggak wajar sama sekali gitu, sampai bahkan landscape-nya aja udah kayak di planet lain gitu. Kita ingin awareness itu dan RWI membantu menyebarkan dan mensupport film The Partian sebenarnya. RWI jadi wadah yang tepat untuk film-film ini, terutama visi misi organisasinya yang selaras dengan para filmmaker yang terpilih gitu. Jadi film kami kemarin tuh ditayangkan di forum PBB dalam rangka COP27, forum khusus di PBB yang membahas perubahan iklim. Jadi suatu kehormatan kita sih bisa ditayangkan dan didiskusikan bersama di forum sebesar itu, menyebarkan kesadaran tentang lingkungan di sekitar tempat tinggal kita. RWI aku harap bisa memperpanjang kerjasama ini ke Minikino dan filmmakernya. Dan untuk para filmmakernya juga sebenarnya peka ya sama lingkungan sekitar, kayak sesimpel kita nggak bisa lihat langit biru aja sebenarnya bisa jadi isu yang oke banget ya untuk diangkat di film pendek. Jadi tetap peka dan rekam dan bikin film.
So that's Hadafi, and it is the correct video. Sorry for that. I need my plus glasses. And we have 2 more videos. I would like to invite actually Kosi's video. He's also one of the winner for the secondary prize with his film Right to Nowhere.
Halo Pak, kita yang pesan caps.
Kalau aku dari dulu emang sangat vokal tentang isu-isu human rights, isu-isu kaum marginal, isu-isu queer, LGBT dan segala macam. Dulu tuh karena emang membahas isu itu selalu di sosial media atau kayak ngobrol. Tapi ketika aku mengenal film dan mulai membahas isu-isu ini gitu melalui film, kita tuh kayak bisa mengajak para orang-orang ini untuk berdiskusi dan mengajak dengan humble. Sebelum bikin Right to Nowhere, aku sempat ngobrol ke beberapa laki-laki gitu, kayak ini nggak sih, aneh nggak sih kalau misalnya dibonceng sama perempuan, lu tuh salah lu gara-gara gini. Biasanya kan emang cowok yang bawa motor gitu, gue nggak bisa kebayang kalau misalnya dibonceng sama perempuan. Aneh nih. Terus kayak melihat di lapangan ternyata emang banyak banget cowok yang nggak biasa dibonceng sama perempuan gitu. Akhirnya oke, aku bikinlah film ini. Dan banyak banget teman-teman yang nonton, teman-teman cowok, terus kayak pada gila ya udah cewek sama cowok yang bawa motor juga it doesn't matter anyway. Ini tuh dampaknya bisa membuat si perempuan tuh jadi makin merana, jadi kayak mengalami kesulitan finansial dan segala macam. I found that is the power of the film actually. Kalau aku sih senang banget dengan adanya award ini ya, dengan adanya penghargaan ini mengamplify our voices regarding the human rights issue. Semoga suara-suara kami yang concern dengan isu-isu human rights, LGBT, queer, itu bisa di-amplify lagi.
Yeah, well, that was Kosi, and Kosi's film actually the latest one was turned out really well, and it was premiered at Cannes, and we were so proud to Salma and comedy. So So congrats. And the main prize winner actually last year was Bagan, the film title, by Firdaus and the director, and Hanan, the producer. And we got a chance to chat with them a few weeks ago. And here they go.
Diketenangkan ya. Cek. Kumai kok. Oh, wow. Wow, wow. Kumai kok. Wow. Entah. Semua benda dah buat. Dan saja daripada bila bikin tanggal 14.
The short film Bagan means a lot to me, and of course to all my teammates as well. And to actually show this film outside of Malaysia, I wasn't expecting it would go to Bali and to actually win something. RWI to actually recognize it, to actually saw it as a human rights thing. So it's a big honor. It's a big pleasure to be one of the winners for RWI as well.
I really grateful because really unexpected this film to go that far. When we're selecting our film, it's like saying that our voice, their voice, is really important and matter to everyone. And no matter anywhere in the world can understand their struggle in becoming as indigenous. I think sweet memory is they cook for us, and then we swim at the sea with them. The most precious thing, the sweet things that still in our memory. I think there's no sad thing, right, Hanan? There's no sad memories.
Yeah, I guess what Balam said is they actually welcome us. Every time I go there, I would always feel welcome. I always feel like home.
Every time they see us, almost all the kids will come, greet us, play with us, asking to play football, to play anything that that we can play together.
To teach them as well. To teach them.
Yeah, to teach them. Yeah.
Never in my life would ever expect to be a part of such community that is so secluded from our nation, but they actually play a big role and a big part of our nation actually, as Malaysians.
Yep, and those are the previous year winner. Aren't you curious to hear about the experience of the filmmakers that are in the nominees for this year? We actually invite them to not just talk and share their experience. They have really, I'm sure, tons of stories to tell, but so then to make it also interesting and also be more engaging, Minikino actually invite the filmmakers to select 10 photos to share their stories. And I would like to invite Riani Singgi, the director of Sonorous Melody, Senandung Senyap, to present your photos.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending today, and thank you RWI and Minikino for having this panel. Well, my first photo is myself as a filmmaker, just to introduce myself first before going everywhere else. So my background is I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I've started becoming interested in documentary since I was in film school, and I got to learn about so many different stories, met so many amazing people throughout my journey, learning about different issues along the way, and that's when I learned that I think documentaries and film is very important because I was able to get the chance to be on the ground and really listen to people and how they experience their life, the issues that they face that we may be not familiar with or not we don't realize in our day-to-day basis as we live in this bubble usually where most of the time we're filmmakers more privileged than the people that we shoot as documentary filmmakers. So I think this experience humbles myself. Okay, next one. So next one, this is actually a film that made an impact on me, on how I started on documentaries. I know it's quite a controversial film, as we know about the 65 events in Indonesia. It's called The Look of Silence. But as a person who's in between Gen Z and millennial, I didn't understand a lot about my own history, and I also grew up abroad, so this was the film that actually shocked me about what was actually happening in my own country. And after I watched this film, I had discussion with my father about what happened, and he eventually told me that my father's uncle actually disappeared during that era, which we never talked about, and he was just, it was something that seems very casual, even though it's really not. So I think that really triggered me that like I really want to make films that trigger this kind of discussion in the audience own home, so we can maybe understand more about our own history. Okay, next one. This was the first film that I made. It was my graduation film actually, and it was about a pantomime artist who he goes to the street, and then he is part of this activism group, and they basically advocates for different human rights issues. He advocates a lot for environmental issues, climate issues, just human rights issues like, like 98 and 65 also. And this is where I learned about artivism the first time, because I realized that through art you can actually become activists as well, instead of, just kind of like telling, how to say, like it doesn't have to be a piece of paper in order to tell stories or tell like issues that are like heavy, but you can convey it through art. And yeah, through this film I learned a lot about, again, my own history in Indonesia, and that made me more interested to pursue this further in the art form. But yeah. Okay, next one is this is a production related to my film that's currently here, A Sonorous Melody. So I'm gonna start because before I met Mufi, my protagonist, she's for those who haven't watched my film, it talks about a deaf artist who she's a singer, for sign language singer, and then also a dancer. Sign language singer is still a term that not many people know in Indonesia. And when I first met her, I was also like surprised that there was a job that was, that you can do, and it's very accessible to and inclusive to deaf community. And so during the making of this documentary, we actually worked with my protagonist and her community as well, and we made a fiction film. 60% of it, 60% of us were deaf, and then 40% were hearing people. So we learned a lot on how to work with each other. But throughout the process, I also learned that it is still very not inclusive, the industry that we're in, because we had some people who was not willing to, for example, put subtitles on their film just so our group can watch it together with them, and they're not willing to. And some of them were also kind of looking down on my protagonist, the director of this film, Mufi, while we're on the pre-production of our film, because they thought that, she was not capable enough apparently, and that made, I think, our team even more interested to like basically talk about this human rights issue further, because I think when we talk about human rights, most people think about political issues or things like that. We don't really think about accessibility for people with disability, and in this case is people of the deaf community. And throughout the making of this film, I also learned that they have a lot of lack of access in Indonesia about their towards education, because if you watch my film, or you can watch it today, there's still some screenings, they have a lack of accessibility to learn because they are forced to speak instead of sign language in Indonesia at schools. And because of that, they are not able to gain the knowledge that we hearing people have the privilege to gain, which becomes more difficult when they finish school and enter their career and the work life, basically. And so throughout this film, we want to advocate more about the use of sign language for everyone and accessibility to deaf community. Okay, this is going really fast. And the next one is I did a project about a sexual assault trigger warning for anyone who's. I'm gonna talk a bit about it without mentioning details. But I work with actually a corporate company, a body shop, to make a creative documentary about the experience of sexual assault survivor. And I think this is the project that made me realize how much of an impact a film can have, because the impact team actually brought the film to be screened at the government meetings, the DPRD, and it helped push for the sexual violence bill that was passed last year in Indonesia to finally be passed after how many years of advocacy. And it was it's true from this very simple films. We just took photos of the survivors, and we have narration of the story of how they feel after, how they feel after the incident. And I realized that made such a huge impact on the law. Yeah, and okay, this next photo is a film that was actually Minikino last year also. It was and this one I actually got a glimpse of the legal side of things of human rights, because we were following an ex-policeman who is discharged dishonorably because of his sexual orientation. And then we learned that basically how minorities can be so oppressed in Indonesia, even though there is a law that says you cannot oppress them. But even though like my protagonist has fought so far to the court without giving up, but we know that he still cannot win because it's just the power dynamics between the majority, the people with power, and the minority is so huge that even the law itself cannot protect it. And I think, from this film though, even though we are not able to, I guess, change the results of their and in court to basically let them win, we're working on an impact basically to let people know about how minorities are treated in different career and different work settings, and how we can make a difference to like our colleagues who might be minorities, whether it's like religion, gender, sexual orientation, whatever, ethnicity, that we need to be equal and need to understand each other and listen to each other. So it was a very good experience. Okay, so this is kind of like my what's next photo. That I'm working on another documentary right now, but it's not out yet. But basically, from all my experience, I learned that like making short films about human rights issues doesn't have to be something that is very preachy. Doesn't have to be something that's like very boring for people to watch. It could be very engaging. Because in the end, it's about human relationships, and that's what my next film is going to be about. It's about a mother and a daughter and how they lost a son and a brother during the '98 riots. But yeah, in the end, making short films about human rights issues is very important because it can evoke these discussions like what we have right now, that people may not understand about or may not know about our own history and about like the issues that even is happening right now, but we're very far off because we're on our own bubble. So yeah, I think I think like we should definitely make more films that are create these discussions. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, big applause for Riani. Thank you. And we are looking forward for your next project, and congratulations. Riani also won several support awards from Indos, from Dogs by the Sea several weeks ago. Yeah. Thank you. And next, I would like to invite Robin to share the photos and stories with us.
All right, so all the pictures that you will be seeing today come from films that are let's say, the media part of a wider research project called Refashion. This is a research project by the the Royal Holloway University of London and the Nottingham University. This study looks mostly at three things. The first is fast fashion, then the impact of COVID-19 on garment factory workers in Cambodia, and now a third component, which is the impact of microfinance indebtedness in the country. What you're seeing right here is part of the wedding ring. So it's part of the story about garment workers during the COVID-19, and it's part of the film that is screened currently at Minikino. That film is a fiction. However, this was shot in the format of a documentary, this particular scene, this insert, that goes really fast. Okay. Moving on. So a few big ideas that I wanted to discuss before seeing how they had a practical incarnation in our films. The first one is, why does filmmaking, in my opinion, matters for human rights and for vulnerable communities such as garment workers. And the main thing I believe, and is what is shared among storytellers and filmmakers, is the fact that you can reframe a story. You can challenge what's the main narrative, what's been told about a certain community, and that could potentially have political implication, financial implication. You can change how the government directs and sort of behave with its own people. Now, this picture over here is behind-the-scene shot from the wedding ring. It speaks about why it's exciting for me to do documentary filmmaking. That's the result of the previous scene. And so the reason why it's exciting, I think, for a lot of filmmakers is the ability to, as you were saying, enter the world of somebody that you don't know and to empathize with them. So you go on an adventure in discovering this life that doesn't belong to you, and it's a beautiful process. The second element of it that I think really moves us as filmmakers is the fact that you get to pick and choose and reinterpret that story and repropose it to an audience. So what are the key human elements that can drive your audience and can help your audience understand the story that you're proposing? In the case of Lakena, in the case of the wedding ring, there are a few elements that we focus on. The first one was the fact that she was pregnant and being laid off during the pandemic, which is for anybody, I think, something extremely painful, especially if you think that you're having a growing family like her. The next pictures are from our new project, still part of Refashion, and this is a film, a documentary project rather than a fiction, that is going to look and investigate how microfinance indebtedness is impacting not only garment workers like Vesna here, but across the whole country. And we believe that possibly Cambodia is at a breaking point in terms of how much debt local and vulnerable families are picking on. Her story in particular is the one of a garment worker who has to live very far from her own family, from her own children, to support not only the family, but to pay back the principal and the loan that she has accrued. This is particularly harsh and particularly hard because there hasn't been any type of flexibility on behalf of the microfinance institution. And it is something that is quite common across the country. Here we see Vesna with her 2 children. And again, we're going back to what are the elements that us filmmakers we pick on to make a story interesting. And in this case, it was her relationship with the kids. Her children in pre-production, when we were visiting them and trying to understand her story, were hilarious. So there's even though the story is extremely dramatic, there's an element of humor, there's an element of real humanity that you can, interact with, which is beautiful. And this comes through, I hope, in the film that we are putting together. So coming up next, there's going to be 2 other stories from the same film. We are looking at 3 different families, 3 different stories to tell what's happening with microfinance and indebtedness in the country. Okay, so this is the story of Perng, which is currently a trash collector in Poipet. Poipet is a border town between Cambodia and Thailand. Perng, before being a trash collector, was a migrant worker until one day, during one of his working trip in Thailand, he woke up on a sailing boat. So without knowing why, he woke up in the middle of the Thailand Sea, between actually Thailand and Malaysia, and he was told that he was being abducted and that they had to work on the boat. So that ended only when he decided to just escape, and he literally dived into the ocean and swam all the way to Malaysia, where he stayed for about a year, and then he was found by an NGO and flown back to Cambodia. Now, the reason why Perng had to migrate to Thailand was again because he had accrued a large amount of debt, and Thailand provides one of the few ways for poor Cambodians to escape that kind of debt trap. Here we are seeing him not with his children, but with his grandchildren, and that's because her daughter is currently in Thailand, and they're having a call with her in the frame. And one of the elements that we try to flesh out with his story was, the idea of sort of an odyssey, the hero journey of somebody who's been abducted and returns home, trying to go back to his family. Again, as you can still see from here, the things that come out from the pictures and the photographs is the strong family connections that we're trying to highlight in all of the stories. So always trying to look for this human touch, these human elements in the story, and as you were saying, flashing out what's humane and what's interesting in a story, rather than talking about the more technical aspect, especially in filmmaking. Finally, this is the story of Nga, who is part of an ethnic group in Cambodia, again, in Mondulkiri, which is the mountainous region. She unfortunately just lost her husband, who committed suicide, and that was due again to the incredible weight of debt that they had accrued. She believes that now the ghost of her husband is, kind of hunting her and chasing her, and has recently converted to Christianity, which is also a quite problematic and unusual aspect of this community in Mondulkiri. And her story is quite common in that area and with indigenous groups. It's quite interesting as well because a lot of indigenous groups have communal rights rather than individual rights to land, so that has become a tension within the country. So all of these stories are presented in a way to challenge the narrative that microfinance is a silver bullet to alleviate poverty. And especially in Cambodia, through these stories, what we hope to do is to change the policies around microfinance lending and how the money gets distributed and how easily it is for poor people in a vulnerable community to access these microfinance loans. And I think that's the end of my short presentation.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. And as you know, as festival, we work with filmmakers and so many creative, and you may probably give them brief and they will like deliver something different, but yet equally, if not more, creative. And if we promise you 10 photos from the panelists, no, you will see 3 photos and a teaser from Amelia. So, can't wait to hear your story.
I didn't know that it will be presented like this, so I'm severely underprepared. Because I tried to ask my producer, do you still have the photos, and like no, okay, well anyway, so I guess I'm just gonna begin a little bit like with the journey of being a filmmaker. I was born earlier than you guys, and actually. Initially, when I graduated from high school, I wanted to work in advertising because my era was the first time when the private television network came to my city. And I saw the advertising world is so amazing and anything is possible, so creative. So I told my parents that, I want to study advertising. Little did I know, when after I joined the university, the 1999 breakout, this was when Suharto regime, the only president I knew throughout all my growing up years, fell down. And in this turmoil, there were also stories of Chinese Indonesians' houses, being burned down, rape cases, and a lot of things. And at that time, I was studying in the United States, and through like mailing lists, at the time these things exist, we heard a lot of these stories. And there, I think I was moved by the idea that throughout decades, throughout Suharto regime, that my image, my story, I'm a Chinese Indonesian, has been manipulated by somebody, which is the Suharto regime. We were asked to see ourselves as only taking advantage of Indonesia, taking economic advantage, caring about ourselves and not care about the whole country. And this is very demeaning. I received a lot of discrimination growing up because when I showed up, that's how people saw me, and it's hard for me to show myself, show my love for the country when this image has already been projected and been given to me. So I made the decision in my life to disrupt this image, to disrupt this identity that it was placed on me, and I wanted to, at that time, contribute to a more democratic Indonesia by telling the stories of everyone, not just what the government wants to hear, but actually oppressed voices, basically. Yes, and also I think it is important for Chinese Indonesians like me not to just tell stories of Chinese Indonesians. At that time, I felt a little bit also not comfortable with, I saw the Chinese Indonesian community after the reform was also going all the way to China. Like they want to show so much of their Chinese identity. They built on big parties. They built, they showed the dragon dance everywhere, and all the signs of Chineseness that I think for me is also not providing stage for other oppressed stories. So not knowing at that time that there is no such industry for documentary filmmakers, not knowing that there is no financing available, not knowing, not knowing all of these things, I was like adamant, like, you know, I want to become documentary filmmaker. And of course it's difficult. So my first film was about the street children, and my second film was about the fishing communities who lost their ocean because of, you know, dynamite fishing and cyanide fishing. But these two films were relatively unknown, also because I was just starting my craft as filmmakers. I know that filmmaking is a craft that you learn until you die, that you can always improve all along the way, and that they were doing well, but then it's important for me to see what did not work with these films, to kind of continue the learning journey as a filmmaker. But then, you know, when I graduated with my master degree, I got an opportunity to work as a radio journalist in Beijing. Oops, can we go to the previous slide? I got an opportunity to work in Beijing, and I met actually Achung there. It was during the Beijing Olympic 2008, and actually Achung has migrated to the US, but because he believes so much in the rising of China as a way of, he wants his story, his identity, his choice to be validated by history. So he went to Beijing to want to see the Olympics. And I met there through family connections. And I learned about his story. And there, I recorded his story, actually only the audio, and not without a film camera. At the time, film camera is expensive, and I don't have access to one. And so, also throughout that period of time, I learned different waves of discrimination that Chinese Indonesian face that you know, drove migration. Some of the migration is back to their perceived mainland. Although in the mainland they are also discriminated against, and, you know, etc. But these were the stories that I collected throughout that period. And and again, I wanted these stories to be made, produced. There was no finance. So this story was somewhat stored in my heart, because I guess after I met Achung, I could never forget about him. And yes, and so my journey continued. After that, I made my next film on Ahok when he was running at that time to become a parliament member. Again, there was no finances for that film, so that film again was shelved in my hard disk. And then I took a job in Timor-Leste, because, you know, as a young adult, I need to have income. Only when I came back to Indonesia to take a job in Indocs, a documentary organization, then I started to see the severely unequal system of funding and distribution for documentary films. And of course, this was related to the flaw in Indonesian democracy, that, you know, these voices of marginalized people were seen as destruction or disruption to the power, and, you know, and therefore the industry was not opening doors to these voices. And through my time in Indocs, actually, we fought this system. I established the documentary pitching forum, and also Good Pitch, which is crowdsourcing for documentary films in Indonesia. And only after I left Indocs that there was this opportunity came when there was a funder who asked, we need to get young people to know about human rights violation by the state, so that when they vote wisely. And because Indonesia's growing young people are getting so much more, they decide for our country. Their votes actually decide for what happened in Indonesia. So these stories need to be told and not need to be made known now. And so this is the reason why I made Acung. I guess I stop here.
Would you like to show a teaser that you have prepared?
No, let's just show the face of Acung, maybe,
Sure.
because it's not in the film. But can you not put it on the recording? Oh, it's.
Oh no, this one is streaming though.
Oh,
This one is streaming, yeah. So better not, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. But you can come approach Amel and ask if you are interested after this. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Amel. Yay. That's I guess from the videos and also from the live sharing, you can feel that it's very personal for each and every one of you, and everyone approach it sort of in simple. It's with your heart. So thank you for for giving your time, not knowing of the things that you don't know, but you still do it anyway. And well, Yudha and Jason, you would like to share, right, how RWI actually would love to support this issue through films. So I'll leave the time for you now. Oh, one by one? Okay.
All right, thank you for this amazing event. So I'm for RWI. Today is the events that we really looking forward since the past 3 years. And I think the first step is I want to congratulate the Minikino team, especially Tika, Birus and Edo, for having this amazing event, for connecting RWI with the filmmakers from the Asia Pacific. And today I think we want to set up not very in a formal way discussions, because that's normally RWI in activities. So this one is more like sharing sessions. We don't want to teach you guys, especially the filmmakers, how what is human right is for you guys. But we want to tell you RWI perspective on the human rights lens. So today, slide is called Exploring Human Rights Through Films, basically. And first of all, I wanna just have a quick question first for the audience here. Is anyone here knows about RWI without this event? Anyone? So, 2 people. Okay, great. Any? All right. So, may I ask you questions? Where you get the information from, or what do you know about RWI? Do you know what RWI stands for? Yeah.
Can the crew pass on the mic for Nosa? Yeah. No, we want you to be heard by the people that are online.
Okay, thank you. I know RWI from Instagram and social media, because I've monitored a lot of NGOs. So you guys are, going into my timeline. And Raoul Wallenberg Institute, it's all there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Is anyone? Yeah, please.
I learned about the institute last year in Minikino, so yes, I've heard
Super.
about it, and after that I
Great.
looked into it, but Minikino is the platform I...
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, maybe go into the next one. Next slide, please. Yeah. So RWI stands for the Raoul Wallenberg Institute. So we based in Lund, Sweden. So we have affiliation with Lund University in Lund. So we established since the 1984. So next year RWI will be 40 years old, and RWI working mainly on the human rights area, human rights educations, and the humanitarian law as well. So over the past almost 40 years, we have a convening power in the 40 countries based on the record that we have, and then also the name of the Raoul Wallenberg Institute. It's after the Swedish diplomat name, Raoul Wallenberg himself. So anyone else here knows about who is Raoul Wallenberg did at that time? Anyone knows about the story of the Raoul Wallenberg? No, yeah. So Raoul Wallenberg is a Swedish diplomat who saved 13,000 of Jews people during the World War II era. So yeah, he was a very, very prominent, not only a diplomat himself, but also a human rights heroes, I would say. And there's a Raoul Wallenberg days of commemoration as well. And we very proud because our institutes are named after the Swedish diplomat that have really good names in the history. So basically, we are academic institute. We normally work on research, direct engagement, and then also we engage with partners in Asia Pacific. So at the RWI postures, we focus on regional Asia Pacific. Here I have my colleagues, Jason and Wulan. We work on team. We base in Jakarta. We have office there, so we are regional office in Jakarta. And as an academic institute, the initial thoughts that we found for the first time, thinking about how to promote human rights nowadays, it's the way that we realized that, oh, this should be not conventional, we said, because as academic institutes, normally we always do a like really formal way, because we have publication, for example, research publications that need to be amplified, need to be promoted, talking about human rights and environment in a conventional way, which is talking the partner, having launch of a books or publications in the event, because we have activities like a blended learning course, the training, justice actors, and then training also academics about human rights-based approach, basically. So from that, we think that we need something different for this. So the idea of RWI Asia Pacific Awards comes in, because initially we want to have our own human rights film festival. By the way, we have also human rights film festival at Lund. It's already happening for several years, I think. So the basic idea is we want first make this one, RWI Asia Pacific Awards, and that the winner also from this region can bring up the films to Lund, Sweden, to screen their films, to give them a little bit like different perspective from the European ones, especially the Swedish and the around nation on that. And afterwards, after we like assessing and then doing some research for that, I think it's not really reliable for RWI, because it really takes time. And RWI based on the program in Indonesia, I guess, as a regional, so it's like a 5-year cycle program. So we need to think strategically. So that's why the idea comes in to have a partnership with existing film festival, which is the one that ever showed us is Minikino, which is really, really good, high-profile international film festival. I think you guys will agree with that. and yeah, sadly, in 2021, it's in pandemic. So we started that, the first RWI Asia Pacific Awards during the pandemic. And the first winner of the films of RWI Asia Pacific is The Last Breath of the Tony Sap, which is made by Robin and Thomas. Thank you for you guys. And I think the one that also maybe forgot to mention is we screen also that films at COP26 before COP27 in Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh. So, but then it's pandemic but then the hype is all in there because the films is really, really well in portraying what is human rights and environments all about. And yeah, so from that we went through to the next partnership at RWI Asia Pacific Awards, the second year, 2022. So we have a films of various film from Asia Pacific, another country. I think we have awarded Laos, Malaysia, and also Indonesia. Next line, please. Yeah. From that, I think we not, as I mentioned before, we're not teaching you guys what is human rights in your views or your perspective. But then, as a academic institute working on human rights, RWI have their own lens to work on telling what is human rights for RWI. So basically, RWI sees human rights as a comprehensive methods, and we call it is a human rights-based approach, which is the approach is grounding from the international human rights standards kind of thing. So it's basically, you can read out on the screens. That's what we do. And then as an academic institute, I think this is really important to stand on these positions because we work on the specific areas, especially in the regional Asia Pacific. We work on the 4 thematic areas. One of them is human rights and environment. That's why the teams of RWI Asia Pacific is on the first theme of this one, human rights and environment. And the second one is business and human rights. Also, we work on access to justice and non-discrimination and inclusions. So, based on these thematic areas, we have outcomes to work with, and then we have activities within, and we have activities such as BLCs, seminars, discussions, and everything. And COP is one of them. And at the activities, I think we need also see that promoting human rights, especially the interlinkage between gender equality, climate change, and environment, is important to do so, because we think that it's not only end up in a festival like this, especially the short films, because it should be also channeled or distributed to activities, like maybe teaching at school, meeting with colleagues or business partner, because based on our experience, they're really interested in creative stuff like films, for example, but they don't know how to get it, how to connect it. Okay, they can open it on YouTube, for example, or Netflix or whatever, but then when it comes to discussions or serious academic discussion settings, they need a really niche films that really represents the issues. For example, like human rights and environments. That's why we want to connect you guys between filmmakers, academics, and then also young people, for example, the youth. because RWI is not only work on academic and also CSOs, whatever. We work also with youth in the region, in the Asia Pacific. So basically, we have pretty much same goals, promoting the interlinkage between human rights, gender equality, climate change, and environment. So films also we use to promote, especially on socials, about telling people, especially the young ones, on what is human rights and environment. What is the real example or actual example in the region, for example. So there's a lot of case, but then based on our research and everything, it should be based on cases, which is, if you're talking human rights in the environments, we ever like lift up the case of Jakarta pollution, for example. It's talking about the health, the right to a healthy environment, as an example. So that's the things that we work with the youth as well, outside this one, with filmmakers. Next up, please. Yeah, impacts of the films. This is what Jason and I mentioned before. So how the films can influence discussions or action related to human rights. And this is what we see from you guys as filmmakers, or the ones that really have interest in producing films, for example. This is what happened in the RWI setting, because the film has impact on, like, let's say, discussion and screening at COP. COP, it stands for Cooperation of Party. COP, it's the well-known conference for climate change led by the UN. So RWI has, I think, second time to do screening at COP at the time. So one is the Robin Films, and the second one is, I think, the Persians, yeah. So at COP, I think the last COP at Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh, I think that's the first time when the youth community got the pavilions, because at COP they work so much on the pavilion. So if you want to pitching ideas and everything about issue related climate change, that's the place to be. So RWI are hooking up on the Swedish pavilions and then also the youth pavilions in there. So supporting RWI activities in the region, like I mentioned before, we have activities like the blended learning course, seminars, and the international events that need support from films like you guys that produce. And it's proven that it's effective because the time is so limited to explain stuff normally. And films can telling that right away, oh, this is what you guys meant. So that's the ideas we want to amplify to help you guys channeling the films in the new avenue, in the new field, for example. So and also it has a implication to educate and inspire people to learn more about what is human rights, what is the connection with the, for example, environment, with the gender equality, or even with the climate change. So that's why the films can show up, and then we can reference our publications, our knowledge product to them. This one, if you want to learn more in the academic way, so the films can help you to be an example. So that's the idea. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is from the last year award. So that's the thumbnails of our winning films from last year. So underneath is our screening at the Youth and Children Pavilions at COP26 in Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh. So as you can see on the screen, there's interactive discussions. This is the participants, and it's the one, the speakers, mainly youth from the Asia Pacific that coming. So this discussion is very, very fruitful in in some way, because this is very new. The youth pavilion itself is new at COP, and then also screening film for explaining climate change, which is we brought up the Persian movie to that. It's really surprising for them to know that, oh, there's young people who can make films and then can screen the films through COP, which is over the previous COP, it's not possible to do so. But now there's the avenue, the channel, that one, that RWI as academic institutes, we want to bridging them, and we want to promote them as well, to connect filmmakers, academics, and then also international events, to talk about that. It's more like inclusively and more fruitfully based on the real events. Next up. Yeah. Last one is our term. This is what we're looking for outside the academic settings that need to be promoted as well. We call it art activism. So basically, we leverage the art power to convey message for people, to evoke also emotions that can ignite positive changes in the society, for example. So we think that films, poetry, songs, digital, and social media can be united to promote stuff, especially our stuff in the 4 thematic areas, like a human rights environment, for example, very effectively. And then also, it can land it everywhere, just like what Gaddafi and Balam said. It's so unexpected that the movie can be that far, for example. So that's what what RWI think of. We want to make network connection with filmmakers, and then we also want to amplify your films. So we encourage, especially the young people, to make films basically that can promote stuff on your surrounding, because you never know your film will land it where, and then you never know as well. Your film can be used by an organization like us, like RWI. So in that terms, we think that developing connection with filmmakers in the region is important, because we don't want to stop only on awarding films like here in Minikino Film Festival, but we also have a planning on screening the film outside Bali, in the region, like maybe in Thailand or in Cambodia, because it's really important to connect you guys and then to share your knowledge, especially the way that you produce your films, because it's really important for people, especially the new ones, that they don't have clue how to make it the first time or how to make it from the A to Z. So you guys that already did that, you can share the knowledge with them, and then you can talk about the issues and everything. And the most important is you can reference RWI publications to inspire or making stuff on human rights film, basically, for example. So I think that's it. That's my slides that I can share for today. So if you have any questions, you can throw it to us. Me and Jason and everyone here maybe also can help to answer. And don't forget, after this, we have available 5 small gifts for you guys. The only 5. That's why there's a sketch for that. So we will have a quick quiz for that. So I don't know if you are really watching this thoroughly, but the questions will be related to around how RWI works and what is RWI, basically. So be prepared. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation. Before that, giveaway questions, can we like get to the business? Meaning, can the audience ask questions to you and probably to the filmmakers, and probably you, the filmmakers,
Sure.
may have questions for RWI. Now it's open. 1, I'm taking like 2, 3, up to 5. No, up to 3. I'll be kind to you. So Anissa, Adam, and Amelia. I mean, they ate. By now, if you go to enough happy hours and the party, you will get to know everybody's nickname already. So, Anissa.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for the presentation of this lovely filmmakers and also from the RWI. I feel fascinated because, I mean, I got to know RWI. I mean, I Google it and stuff because Minikino connected us with you. But I feel fascinated because you mentioned a lot about art activism, which is our organization, my community, also based on artivism, we call it. So we combine the two words. And we try to, whenever we make a film since 2019, we always put impact distribution and impact plan on it. So my question is more like, are you open to also like supporting the impact plan or impact distribution on the film itself outside of your program that you already had? Because, for example, I'm the producer of Riani here. For the film Miss Sonorous Melody, we come up with a program, with a long-term sustainable program to educate sign language more into hearing community and also deaf community for sure. But at the same time, we do that through arts as a connection because we believe art is a universal language for everybody. So we now in the middle of incubation of the program, and we definitely need support from, again, the change maker that's basically on the front line of this issue. And so yeah, so to address it very short, so what is your perspective on that, and will you help more filmmakers on that side as well, and how do we reach you for that? Thank you.
Would you like to take more questions while you think about the answer? I'm giving you like time to think if you would like to. I'm stealing your time if you would like to think. We can take one more questions, and then we will get back to Anissa's questions.
Hi there. My name is Raja Adam. So I'll stand up for this. I just want to ask about like the selection of like films that you guys go through. So I understand that you guys have to go through for RWI, do you have to go through Minikino's selection first? And then do both of you like discuss on like, oh yeah, you know, I think this will really work. I think these selection of films will really work for our program, or are you like heavily involved with like selecting the films even prior to like Minikino's prior to like Minikino approaching you? So like how does that? I think this is a question for both RWI and Minikino. So how do you guys like select the films based on this program? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will actually give you more time to think for Anissa's question because that one is for Minikino. I think on behalf of Minikino programming team in the festival, I'm so happy and proud to actually say that all the films from Asia Pacific is considered to be in the short list of this RWI Section Award. So it means all the films that go through Minikino Film Week official selection are considered. S Express also considered because Bagan is actually the one from S Express last year, and also the one, the other winners from Laos. So that one as well. And also very happy to say that Indonesia got the leverage because it's an international film festival based in Indonesia, and Indonesia Raja is a big open door. And we consider also Indonesia Raja programs. So hopefully that answers your questions. And the hot mic will be on your on your side, RWI, because I'm pretty sure after this, most of them are filmmakers. They will come up with a really good pitch to you.
Yeah, sure. I understand that. Our intention with this engagement with Minikino was really about the communication, about the messaging of your stories, which are quite inspiring on many fronts. The human side of human rights really is what you're articulating, and the very much the common understanding of our lived experience. Trying to navigate that and articulate it is really difficult. So well done. In terms of impact, I know that this is always a question that we face. Why, you've started up something, or you've opened up a really great, an important topic and theme. But our intention was not to go the next step down and then take hold of, say, something like the hearing impaired community and then just keep going with it. Because RWI, like many international organisations, it just isn't sustainable. What you're talking about is generational change. And it's very difficult for an organisation, particularly a Swedish organisation, to be committed to such a cause for so long. And that's where, unfortunately, we wouldn't be going down that road. That does not mean that we don't support in terms of, networking. There's so many avenues to how you affect change. It isn't just money. It isn't just about an organisation. It's about a community of interest. And it takes multiple actions and activities and layers to really bring sustainable impact to people's lives. So that's where we go. And just following on a little bit from what Yudha was saying, is that our intention from the start was to try and see how we can creatively raise interest for people, because you guys know better than I do, but social media, you're just swamped with imaging, you're swamped with messaging, there's always a cause, there's always something going on, there's always, so somehow having a point of time in a year where you can bring together people and actually have this conversation, because often you don't have the conversation, you just see an image or you see something and then you move on to the next one. But being able to hear the conversation, and I remember your film from last year about the policeman in Indonesia. I mean, these are really important stories, and there's a whole lot of stories in Indonesia and around the region that are often, if you don't sit down and talk about them, you just sort of gloss over them. So we wanted to try and do something in this space, and to also leave behind a little bit of a archive almost, like these things don't go away now in the digital world. I mean, this is something for all of us to remember, is it's always available, it's always there. The idea of a publication being on a shelf in a library, that's gone, right? Now it's all about online space. So I know it's a bit disappointing when I talk I know you're doing such a great work, and we had a chat last night about it, and it's just inspirational that you've stuck with this for so many years and you're trying your best. But I think you've also been very strategic, and this is often what I do with, because I'm quite often asked about funding and quite often asked about these things, is that it might not be that funding can go in your direction, but we can leverage our networks. We can, sit down and help organisations strategise a bit, particularly youth organisations that are they sort of just don't know how it works. And in a lot of ways, that's great, because you'll discover, but and you've got to do it differently and do it your way. But there are some old tried and tested ways of how you get change happening inside countries and inside regions. And there are mechanisms, and there is a spectrum of activism, so to speak. And we're all on the spectrum somewhere. But, sometimes making those connection points, hearing a little bit of advice, taking advice in terms of how you strategize a bit. that's what we can do as well.
Hopefully that answers both of your questions, and we have Amelia.
Yeah, my question is also about RW. From last night and also today, I learned, that you guys are working with so many different organizations and institutions in Indonesia that that need to change as well. Governments, officials, and things like that. How willing are you to work with cultural organizations like Minikino or perhaps Indocs? My friend from Indoc is staying over there, where they have repository of films on human rights and different kinds of films that can evoke discussions like this, but not with the filmmakers, but with the public officials, with the people on the ground, the police officers, the judges, the decision makers of our everyday life, so that they too get inspired.
Well, if I could answer that question, we'd all be in a better world, wouldn't we? Look, honestly, we're an actor in a whole world of human rights groups, organisations. The way, I suppose, one of the things when I spoke about a spectrum of human rights, how you work with human rights, the way that RWI does human rights, which is the way that they've sort of done it for a number of years, is they're an organisation that I think the term that's often used is a soft diplomacy approach. So if you have other organisations, and I'm quite sure you would know, there's some other organisations that take a hard line. They might highlight human rights abuses, and then they will name and shame. Right? You would have seen this, where there's something going on somewhere, and then an organisation will name and shame. So you hear this you don't need to look far for those type of organisations. RWI isn't one of those organisations. We're not a name and shame monitoring. The way that was explained to me as a non-Swede is this is how Sweden likes to do diplomacy, how Sweden likes to be part of the conversation, essentially to keep the door open. That's the way I always equate it, is that, and this is always the pull and push of human rights work, is when do you pull your trigger and use all your ammunition on one thing, or do you keep building your reserves and you take the long fight, you take the long game as opposed from the short game and gain. It's a conversation that we have continually. But what I would come back to, what you just said before, Amelia, is really interesting, is that it sounds like to me you already know what needs to be done. You already know that there is a repository of films, and that there is a network of government officials, and there are the elections coming up next year, and you know that the local mayor's this. Look, we all know, and sometimes we look for someone else to do it. And I don't say that flippantly either. I mean, I acknowledge how difficult it is. Again, I think it's one of those things. We're an invited guest in Indonesia or in the region. Right? We have to act accordingly, and I'm told that. I have been told that a number of times. And it's part of the it's part of the engagement with governments and all of those things that go on in the rights world. Even the mere fact that we can sit here today and talk so openly about human rights, this is not the case in a lot of places across Asia, and you know that as well as I do. So it's part of it's part of that sort of, you've got to be a little bit careful about how you go about things. But what I would say to you as an organisation is that we again, it's not about financial support sometimes. You don't need money. What you need is someone that can, you can bounce ideas off of, or that we can connect, or we can, through this network. I mean, Minikino's got an incredible network of distribution and opportunities in terms of where to take some of these films. You've got so many people coming to this festival now. New Zealand, last year it was someone from New York Times, was it? Yeah. You've had people coming from all over the world to this festival. So it sounds like to me we need to be plugging into what you're doing and trying to get some stuff. But that's how it works. You form partnerships, you form connections. You have, sometimes they're very formal and sometimes they're very informal. And sometimes the informal in the human rights world is far more protective because it can get messy very quickly if you're starting to get stuck in to a sensitive area, and all of a sudden you bring down your whole network with you. Sometimes, these are all the strategies of human rights defenders and so forth. But it's important to realise that there is what should I say? There isn't an understanding of how difficult it is, and sometimes you've just got to be very careful about how it all works. And I know you all know that, and particularly your area, Amelia. I mean, it's very sensitive. You've got to be how it all works. You've just got to be very, very careful. But we're of course in that world, and we have to be as careful as the next person.
It's interesting that if you see the screen, Jonathan Haggard, our festival artist, the concept of this is a trick and treat. It will, I think, resonate with some of our conversation. 5:15, be here for the jury talks, including artist talk. 3:15, we're gonna screen RWI nominees, including Amelia, Riani, Robin, Harry, and Michael film. And we have actually space for 2 more questions. Anyone wanna take the chance? What is your question and the souvenir? Can I, as moderator, have it? Maybe you wanna shoot now the questions? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right then.
Good luck. Can we see the souvenir first? If the souvenir is 7,5 juta rupiah, the same amount as the secondary prize, we'll be
still
up
the
for
biggest
it.
prize is the transversal prize for them.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, I need one. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Shameless
Oh, by the way, do we have questions from the YouTube? Because, I'm sorry, you cannot take the souvenir. Sorry.
Yeah. For
Okay.
online viewers, yeah.
Go. What's your question?
All right. I think this is the easy one. If you really keep an eye with our presentations before, so when is RWI established? What year?
What year? Woo! Raja Adam.
1984.
That's
wow,
it. Correct.
1984. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Second question. How many bags do you have?
So
okay, 4 more.
4 remaining. Okay. So next questions. What is affiliations of RWI in Lund, Sweden?
What? What's the question? The question again, rephrase probably. The affiliates?
Who's our partners
Oh.
that we affiliate for? Yeah, the main partner in Lund, Sweden.
Oh, the main partner.
Yeah, the clue it's, I don't know, school.
A school?
Yeah.
A school? Even I didn't know that one. I was like, I'm just gonna make an excuse that, I cannot see the screen.
Okay, Next question then. This is so hard. Huh?
Yeah, please answer.
It's
Yeah.
Lund University.
Oh,
Yeah,
Lund
Lund
University.
University, yeah.
Now we know.
All right. So next question is, how many people that being saved by Raoul Wallenberg during the World War II?
Okay. Well, they both. Can they whisper? Because Anissa and Amelia was like raising their hand at the same time. Can they like whisper the answer to Wulan? And if both correct, they can get 2 bags.
That's a good method. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Right.
Whisper.
Well done, well
Okay. If it's correct, yeah. If it's correct, okay. Salah ya? No? Salah nggak? Hah? Aduh, salah semua. Gimana sih kok susah? No? Is it correct? Oh, Wulan also needs to the whisper.
Bener. Siapa yang jawab? Siapa?
Both? Amelia is
Amelia correct.
And
Yeah.
what is the number of the people that were
30,000
saved?
people.
30,000
Yes.
people. So we still have 3 bags left. Oh, 3. Okay.
All right.
Easy one, please, Yudha.
Yeah, this is related strongly to RWI still. What is human rights approach that we use to on our activities? What is it called? Yeah. What?
Soft diplomacy, she said.
Incorrect.
What?
Any? It's easy. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Oh my God.
It's the method. The method.
The method.
The approach. The approach.
Oh my
What we call the
goodness.
approach.
I would just flunk this class.
No,
Capacity
because
building, no?
it's developed from the international standards of human rights, but we call it specifically.
Oh, can you repeat that again? So what the method of RWI is?
Blah 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 based approach.
Blah 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 based approach. Is it
Yes.
1 word or 2 words? Just give us
Two
the
words.
first letter.
2 words.
2 words. Give
It's
us the
easy.
first letter.
Yeah.
The first letter.
H.
H. H. H.
Yeah, that's it.
Yay! What is the
What it
the
stand
answer?
for? Yeah,
Wow!
that's correct.
Can they both get the
Well.
bags? Because Osi and Ula work
Yeah,
together. Can they have 2 instead? All right, awesome. So 1 question left.
Okay.
Please
And this
encourage
one-
us.
Yes, I will. What year was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which we all enjoy as humans? What year was it signed off? What was it put in place? Yeah, have you all heard of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? Yeah, you would.
Tahun berapa?
What year? Bang, there it is.
Whoa! Okay, persistence is how you do.
1948. So I was saying the other day at a conference, can you imagine, that, like in 1948, all the nations around the world got together and they drafted a common set of human values, basically, a universal declaration about what it is to be human in our relationship. And this is, of course, set off a whole train of it's in constitutions and, you know, like it's a whole body of work. So can you imagine trying to do it today? Trying to get everyone in the same room and trying to all agree on what it means to be fair and reasonable and equitable and just with each other. It's an amazing piece of work, really is. But there you go, 1948. So it's got some, it's still around. Okay, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. Well, that was fun. Well, give big round of applause for everyone. So we are actually going to end this session, and may I actually invite the panelists, Robin, Riani, and Amelia, and also RWI representative, to give like not the conclusion, but it can be hope, it can be unresolved thought, or it can be like an inspiring and encouraging words for everyone here, everyone that might like find this online and really listen to your talk today. Like a quick, just a brief one as to conclude. Who's ready first? May I invite Melia, since you got the bag?
Okay, I just kind of my deepest wish is that all of us, no matter who, no matter where they're born, no matter their life condition is, has the ability to tell their story to others so that they can be recognized, their hopes and dreams can be heard, and can be valued.
Thank you, Amel. Liani?
Well, I guess for me, it's like to not be afraid to tell these kind of stories, even though, yes, we live in a country that is democracy, quotation mark. But I think it's important to tell these kind of stories in however way you want, so we can have discussions like this in more places, not just in Minikino, but beyond, all over the world.
I guess the question would be to always question the main narrative and the main story that are around in whatever country you're living, and try to see how storytelling and art and filmmaking is questioning those, and where are they coming from. Both the mainstream ideas, mainstream story, and where are the filmmakers, the artists, and their perspective coming from.
Thank you, Robin. RWI, Yudha or Jason, perhaps?
Yeah, I would just say that I'd echo a lot about what you're saying there about hope and just not giving up. It's so easy to be cynical. It's so easy to be cynical and just, it's not worth it, I'm not going to do it, what does it matter, who's going to listen? You know, all of these are so easy to throw away and around, and there's so much pressure, particularly on young people now, about conformity, but not only about in politics and so on, but also in body image and how you've got to be this and that way on social media. And really you don't, you can just be yourself, and that's exactly fundamental to human rights actually. It's about you as an individual can be you, and you can exercise your agency and your power. And if it's a small way, it can be a song, it can be poetry, it can be a film, it can be anything you want it to be. And it's a really important message to yourself more than anyone else. And we encourage that, because out of that comes creativity, difference, individuality, but also network and connection. You'll find someone else who's thinking the same way. That's the great thing about the internet, no doubt about it. So yeah, don't give up, don't get too cynical, and keep the fight going.
Thank you. 3:15. If you have not watched their films, come again to this space, and thank you for everyone, and thank you for the online audience. And with this, we're eager to know who will be the winner of the RWI Award this year.
Don't
tomorrow.
forget to come at the awarding night.
Yeah,
Please.
tomorrow. See you and thank you.
Berapa